Hi, my name is Dr. Laurence Brock. I'm going to tell you about my near-death experience. I've done some talks before, and I sort of skim over the part about the actual near-death experience, as I don't really think that's the most important aspect, because the effect that it had on me and my abilities to heal people seems more profound than the actual incident. But a lot of people ask, so in 1976 I was living in Boulder, Colorado, actually in Longmont, Colorado. I had moved from Boulder to Longmont, and I had come back to Rye Brook, New York to visit my parents, and a young lady that I had a fancy for invited my friend and I to a party. I went to the party. I drove my mother's car and had some drinks at the party. And then I didn't really feel that drunk, but I sort of hammed up being more drunk than I was to ask my friend for a ride home so I could leave my car there and have to go back the next day and get to see this young lady. So when I was almost back to my parents' house, I realized that my sister needed to use my mother's car the next morning for work, so I told my friend to drive me back. And he took me to the party. Of course, he protested. I explained to him that I was hamming up my being drunk so I could go back the next day, and he did. But I was too drunk to drive, but I got in the car. I fell asleep on the way back and drove into a tree. I don't know how fast I was going. It was some years ago, and probably nowadays they would have let me know how fast I was going, but so I fell asleep. I don't remember driving into the tree, but what I do remember is I was floating above my body in this white light. I could see my body was very damaged. My head was cracked open. There was a police officer kneeling above me, and I was leaning against the tree. The car was smashed beyond what you would think someone could survive. And so I was floating in this white light, and the white light just felt my perception of things. I'm a very kinesthetic person, which means feeling things as my primary sensory input, and it just felt wonderful. After the fact, as soon as I heard the word divine ocean of love and benevolence, it's like, whoa, that's what I was in. So I was more in a divine white light of benevolence and love, and it just felt so much, and I use the expression like everything was okay, but beyond what I could imagine. So it wasn't like things were celebratory or whoopee or anything like that, just that everything was okay, that everything was good. I could describe it as a sense of peace. So I was there. There was a part of it that was just a knowing, like knowing the human dilemma, knowing just that there was a God, just a knowing, like a sense of almost knowing everything, like this white light had a lot of wisdom in it. And then there was a voice of a person behind me who said, "You have to go back. Your father wants you to stay." Now I knew the father that voice was referring to was not my physical father, but spiritual father. My feeling at the time was the voice was coming from a spiritual master, and that the white light over in that side was God. So in the spirit of everything is okay, I went back into my body and woke up 3 days later in the hospital. After that time, a couple of things happened. One is I noticed when I would touch people, my hands started to become very warm almost instantly, and people would tell me that they noticed it also, and I started to have a sense that it would heal people, so I started exploring that, and that ended up to be true. I also became more intuitive, and in one way, the biggest effect it had on my life is I started meeting a lot of people that had near-death experiences. Some of these people were teachers, spiritual teachers, teachers of healing methods, and it just seemed like my life was set on a journey of learning about spirituality, about God, and about healing. It still, to this day, it is something that every experience is about that for me. So part of what I knew and part of what I learned altogether and developed is that I can help people connect into that spiritual energy that's very healing. Sometimes I can heal people. I don't even want to say I can heal people, but what I do can heal people almost instantly. Sometimes it takes more than that because there's different layers. Luckily, I've met a lot of really great people that knew really cool things. I use a lot of adjectives and adverbs to describe the situation because it's really hard to define in words. Some people have asked if I was actually declared dead by a doctor, and I don't know the answer to that. I went back and checked with my dad and asked him, and he didn't know. He told me when he got to the hospital, though, that my skull was visible, like the skin was peeled back here. And I do remember the doctor and nurses saying it was touch and go. And I assume that meant that I was either declared dead or very close to dying. After that, I went back to see the car, and I had a picture at the time, which I tried to find also, but this car was so squished, when I looked in there, I couldn't even imagine someone surviving it all. So I had not a scar, a mark across my chest, that my chest hurt a lot. I still have a scar that goes here and all the way back this way, and it still sometimes itches right along there, and there are points on my head a lot that the last couple of years I've noticed they're very sensitive. I do feel that it has an effect on my body to this day. A number of things. I had a hip replacement on my right side. A lot of the damage was on the right side of my body, and I still feel that today. I hope that answers all your questions.